I'm here to tell you about two different types of communication. First, there's verbal, which is speaking, and then second, there's nonverbal. Nonverbal has a lot of different aspects to it, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about verbal communication. Meanings of words change with us through time. And a good example I just recently heard was the three words, I love you. The words I love you told to one person can mean a lot to that person. Well, when the receiver of the three words I love you finds out that the deliverer of the three words I love you has said it to three or four other people, it's no longer as important as it was whenever it was just to that one person. Also, if you're going to use verbal communication, you need to use specifics when speaking. It just clears everything up. If you were talking, say I am going to talk to you about pipe tones, making up and breaking out pipe tones. If I just say when you throw the tones, you latch them up and you pull them with a chain, it'll make them up. When you throw the tones, you latch them up and you pull them with the cable, it breaks them out. Okay, if I don't use specifics, most people have no idea what I'm talking about unless you're in the office. You be specific, use specifics whenever you're speaking. It just helps everything along. If your speech is to be of any interest to the person receiving it as it is to you, you must be assertive. Make them understand how important it is to you as it is to them. Your delivery of your speech and the audience's reception of that speech may be influenced by gender, by age, and also by culture. Take, for instance, I go to a seminar in Oklahoma, and I decide that I'm going to speak to them about seafood, specifically crawfish. What do they use crawfish for? First of all, I know that they use crawfish as bait. They don't eat crawfish. So I speak to them about crawfish and our culture and the importance of it to us and to our economy. And they have no idea. Their reception is influenced by their culture. Now, let me speak to you about the second type of communication, which is nonverbal communication. If you use nonverbal communication correctly, you have two benefits. One, your popularity is higher. You have a better self-esteem. Two, the more successful you are at nonverbal communication, the better you are at influencing others. The more successful you are at nonverbal communication, the more successful you are at influencing others. Right. The third time, the more successful you are at nonverbal communication, the more successful you are at influencing others. Nonverbal communication allows you to have a better control of your communication. Facial management techniques, just out of this world help. Think of it this way. A parent and a child. The child keeps saying, I want, I want, I want. The parent just looks at their child and glares. The child stops. Facial management techniques. Nonverbal communication. Didn't say a word. Just looked at the child stops. Space between two people is also nonverbal communication. You're sitting on the couch with someone that you care for dearly, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, or girlfriend. You have them in your arms, sitting there, you're watching a movie with them. That space between you and the other person communicates to them the importance that they are to you. Now, you're in the grocery store and you see someone else you know, and you reach out and you shake their hand. That space between you and the other person communicates their importance for them to you. Two different spaces. One person's right next to you, touching you. The other person's hands away, or arms away, handshaking. Two different people, two different spaces, two different communications. Something else that's important about nonverbal communication is artifacts. Your desktop, your icons on your phone, whenever you turn your phone on and you look at it and you scroll across, what icons do you have on what page on your cell phone? That all depends of your importance for that icon. You might have the weather on the second page. You might have your Google Maps on the first page, so that you can use GPS because you drive more. You might have Facebook on the first page and Google Maps on the second page because you use more Facebook more often. Political parties denote themselves by color and emblems. Those are also artifacts. The colors that they dress in, their tie, their backdrops when they give speeches, whether they have a donkey or an elephant, depends on what their political party is. Also, our economy. You have a bull and a bear. Those are artifacts. Those are emblems that denote different things about us. Two emblems, two different animals mean two totally different things. You have a bull and you have a bear. Two different economies. Another great aspect of nonverbal communication is silence. If I were to take a pause, as I just did, that means what I am about to say may be important, or it may lead up to something important. If you were sitting at home and someone asks you a question, and you've just had not an argument, but a dispute maybe, where you didn't agree on the same thing, and you do not answer, you're just silent, that could mean something. Silence can be just as strong as words, and when used, can depend on the purpose. Now, out of the two, verbal and nonverbal communications, I have to say personally that nonverbal communication can outweigh verbal. I know you can't have a face-to-face conversation with somebody with just nonverbal, but using just verbal, it's very hard to get the other person's interest in your conversation. So for me, nonverbal communication outweighs verbal. Thank you.